In the quiet of early morning, the birds had not yet finished their songs, and the mist still danced on the river, a cry broke through the silence. It was not the cry of a bird, was not the cry of an animal. It was the cry of a child. What happens when a poor woman, tired and empty, finds a mysterious baby floating in the river? Stay with us. This tale will take you on a journey of tears, hope, and secrets the water tried to hide. Long ago, in a small African village, there lived a poor woman named Amara. She was known by everyone for her struggles. Her clothes were always faded, her feet bare, and her clay hut at the edge of the village seemed to lean with sorrow. She had no husband, no children, and no wealth. She survived by fetching water for the rich, gathering firewood from the forest, and selling baskets she wove from dry reeds. Her days were filled with sweat and hunger. At night she sat alone, listening to the laughter of neighbors who ate with their families. Sometimes she whispered to the stars, "Why, gods, did you give me a heart and womb but no child to love?" Her words vanished into the sky, but her tears remained. One morning, Amara went to the river to fetch water as she always did. The mist was thick, and the world felt strange and quiet. She balanced her clay pot on her head, bent down to fill it, and that was when she heard it, a cry. At first, she thought it was a trick of her tired mind. But then it came again soft, desperate, human. Her heart raced. She left her pot in the water and followed the sound. Step by step, she walked along the riverbank, her eyes scanning the fog. And then she saw it. On a smooth stone in the middle of the river lay a shining shell, glowing faintly as though the gods had polished it themselves. Inside the shell was a baby small, wrapped in strange green weeds that looked like silk from the water. His tiny fists waved, his eyes shone like morning stars, and his cry pierced the air like a call from the heavens. Amara gasped, her hands shook. Her knees weakened. A baby from the river. She whispered, covering her mouth. She waded carefully into the shallow water. Her wrapper grew wet, but she did not care. She reached the stone, bent down, and lifted the baby into her arms. The moment she touched him, his cries stopped. He gazed up at her face as if he already knew her. Amara burst into tears. "The gods have heard me," she whispered. "This child is mine now." She pressed the baby to her chest, wrapped him in her scarf, and carried him home. Her clay pot remained floating in the river, forgotten. When Amara entered her little hut, it no longer felt so empty. She laid the baby on her raffia mat. The room, which had always been dull and dark, suddenly glowed with warmth. For the first time in many seasons, Amara laughed. "I will call you Nilo," she said softly, "because I found you in the river. And you are my wealth, my blessing." That night, Amara fed Nilo with milk from another woman in the village who pitied her and helped. She rocked the child in her arms, humming songs she had not sung in years. Sleep came to her like a gift, and her heart felt full. But the village was not silent about this strange child. When Amara carried Nilo to fetch water, whispers followed her. Some said the river spirits gave her a child. "She is blessed." Others muttered, "No good comes from the river." That child lived in trouble. Old women shook their heads. Young men laughed, but Amara paid them no mind. "The gods gave me this child," she told herself, "and I will love him with all I have." Yet she could not ignore the strange things that began to happen. Whenever Nilo cried, the river behind her hut would ripple as if answering his voice. When she washed his little body, fish gathered near the edge, circling him playfully. At night, the shell in which she had found him glowed faintly, filling her hut with silver light. Amara watched these things in silence. She held the baby close and whispered, "You are not ordinary, my child. But whatever you are mine." Years began to pass. Nilo grew strong and beautiful. His skin glowed like bronze in the sun. His laughter filled the hut like music, and his steps were light as if the earth itself carried him. He fetched small sticks for firewood, ran with the other children, and always returned with a smile for Amara. But the strange signs never stopped. Birds followed him when he played. Sometimes, when he touched the water, it rose gently around him like it was greeting a king. Villagers grew uneasy. "Watch that boy," one man said. "He is not like us. He belongs to the spirits," another whispered. "He will bring blessings," said a few. "No, he will bring curses," others argued. Amara's heart carried both pride and fear. She remembered the night she prayed for a child. She remembered the river. She remembered how the baby had looked at her as if chosen. One evening, when the moon was high and the village quiet, Nilo sat by Amara's side. He was now 12 seasons old, tall and sharp-eyed. The glowing shell lay beside his mat as it always did. "Mother," he said softly, "why do the people whisper about me? Why do the fish follow me? Why does the shell shine at night?" Amara's chest tightened. She had always known this day would come. She took his hand and held it gently. "My son," she whispered, "the river gave you to me. I found you crying in this shell. From that day, you became my child. You are not like other children. You are a child of destiny." Nilo's eyes widened. "Then I am not your real son." Tears filled Amara's eyes. "You are my son in the only way that matters. My heart gave birth to you. I love you more than life. But yes, your beginning was not in my womb. It was in the river." Nilo turned his eyes toward the glowing shell. His heart beat faster. Questions burned in his chest, but answers were still hidden. That night he lay awake, staring at the shell. Finally, he whispered to himself, "Who am I really?" The moonlight touched the shell, and it glowed brighter than ever. Nilo's eyes grew heavy. In his dreams, he saw a palace under the water, walls of coral and pearl, lights that shimmered like stars, and a woman with a shining tail. She stretched out her arms and whispered, "My son, I have been waiting for you." Nilo woke with a cry, sweat on his face. The shell beside him glowed like fire. His journey had only begun. In the middle of the night, when the world was silent and even the crickets hushed their songs, the boy Nilo dreamed of a palace under the river. A shining woman with a silver tail called him "my son." Was she real or only a spirit of his mind? What happens when a child of mystery grows into his destiny? Stay with us, for this part of the tale will reveal the truth hidden beneath the waters. Nilo woke from his dream with his heart racing. The small hut where he lived with Amara felt too small for the questions inside him. He looked at the glowing shell beside his mat and whispered, "Who am I? Where do I come from?" The poor woman Amara sat awake too, watching him with worried eyes. She knew the river had not given her an ordinary child. She feared the day would come when the truth would pull him away from her arms. The next morning, Nilo went to the river alone. He stood at the bank, his reflection trembling in the water. "If you are my home," he whispered, "show me who I am." The water rippled. A soft breeze moved across the river. Then, without warning, the surface broke, and from the depths rose a figure more beautiful than words could describe. It was the woman from his dream. Her hair flowed like black silk. Her eyes were deep with love and sorrow, and from her waist down she had the shining tail of a fish. The river glowed around her. "My son," she called softly, her voice trembling. "You are mine. I lost you to cruel hands, but the river carried you to safety. For 12 seasons I have searched and waited." Nilo froze. His chest tightened. "Are you my real mother?" Tears rolled down the woman's face. "Yes, I am Queen Amani, ruler of the palace beneath the waters. You were taken from me when you were still a baby. But the gods had mercy. They placed you in the arms of a woman with a pure heart." At that moment, Amara came running, breathless, carrying her wrapper tight around her chest. She had seen the water glowing from afar and feared losing her child. She reached Nilo and pulled him close. "You will not take him from me," she cried, tears streaming down her face. "He is mine. I fed him, I raised him, I gave him my heart. You may have given him birth, but I gave him life." The River Queen's eyes softened. She swam closer, her voice tender. "Mara, the gods chose well when they placed him in your arms. Without you, he would not be alive today. You are his mother too, but his destiny cannot end here. He belongs to both worlds. Nilo looked at the two women, the one who bore him and the one who raised him. His heart broke. "Must I choose?" he whispered. The river grew still, as if listening. Then a deep voice echoed from the waters, a voice that seemed older than the earth itself. "No child belongs to one heart alone. A true son carries the love of all who raised him. Nilo, your path is greater than choice. You were born to join the river and the land. You will heal the bond between two worlds." Amara fell to her knees. She trembled, not from fear, but from awe. The queen bowed her head, tears falling into the water like pearls. From that day, Nilo's life changed. He was no longer just a boy of the village. He became a bridge between the human world and the river kingdom. By day he lived with Amara, helping her fetch wood, sharing her food, and filling her hut with laughter. By night he visited the underwater palace, learning wisdom from Queen Amani and listening to the voices of the river spirits. Strange wonders followed him wherever he went. Crops grew greener where he walked. The river never ran dry in seasons of drought. Fishermen returned with heavy nets whenever he touched the water before they left. The villagers who once whispered in doubt now bowed their heads in respect. "Surely this boy is blessed," they said. "He is the river's gift to us all." Others murmured. But blessings are never free of trials. One season, a terrible drought struck the land. The river grew thin, and the soil cracked under the sun. Hunger spread through the village, and the people wailed to the gods. Nilo stood by the dying river, his heart heavy. Amara's body had grown weak from working too much and eating too little. Queen Amani rose from the shallow waters, her eyes filled with sorrow. "This is the test of your destiny," she told him. "You alone can call the river back." "How?" Nilo asked, his voice trembling. "Give what is hardest to give," the queen answered. "A sacrifice of love, pure and true." Nilo thought of the woman who had raised him, who had given him her life when she had nothing. His eyes filled with tears. He knelt beside Amara, held her hand, and whispered, "Mother, I will save you. I will save us all." That night, under the full moon, Nilo stood on the riverbank with a glowing shell in his hands. He lifted it high and cried out, "Great spirits of the river, hear me. Take my strength, take my life if you must, but do not take my people. Do not take my mother." The shell blazed like fire. The river roared back to life, surging and spreading across the dry land. Rain poured from the heavens. The soil drank deeply. Crops sprang up, green and strong. The village shouted with joy, dancing under the rain. Amara clutched her son, weeping. "You are not just my son," she whispered. "You are the son of the world." Queen Amani appeared in the water, her face shining with pride. "Your sacrifice has saved two worlds. You are truly a child of destiny." From then on, Nilo was remembered in songs and stories. The villagers called him the River Child, the one who brought life where there was death. Amara lived the rest of her days with peace in her heart, knowing she had not been forgotten by the gods. And Queen Amani watched proudly from the waters, knowing her son had fulfilled his purpose.